here we have a system of equations. Now we have x squared and y squareds involved. So we have to decide which variable is going to be easier to get rid of. So this one we have 1x squared and an x squared here. So we could kind of match those coefficients. However, there's an extra x here, which could be a problem. That problem doesn't exist with the y. So when we try to eliminate a variable here, we really should be choosing y. Because it'll be, once we get rid of the y squareds, we don't have any extra y's left over. So I'm going to set up the system this way. So my first equation and my second equation, I'm going to multiply by 2. And I'm going to end up with 4x squared minus 2x plus 2y, sorry, this should be minus 4x plus 2y squared equals 98. And again, just make sure that you've multiplied everything in that second equation. So that's equation 1. This is equation 2. I'm gonna add these equations together. So I end up with 5x squareds. I'm going to end up with minus 4x, the 2y squareds, the minus 2y squareds and plus 2y squareds cancel out. Add that together, I'm going to end up with 105. I'll solve this as a quadratic. And I'm going to try factoring this. Actually, I'm just going to use a quadratic formula here. So I'm going to plug it into the quadratic formula. And I'm going to end up with x equals negative 4, so positive 4 plus minus 4 squared minus 4 times a times c. And that's all over 2 times a. Okay, so x is equal to 4 plus minus, and when I work that all out, I need a calculator for this. So we end up with 4 times 5 times negative 105. That gives me 16 plus 2100. So I'm going to square root 2116. And that's going to give me 46. So x is equal to 4 plus minus 46 over 10. That's going to give me 5 and negative 4 what's that going to be? Minus 4.2. So there's my two solutions for x. Once I've solved for x, I need to make sure that I solve for the y's, corresponding y values. So when x is equal to 5, I'm going to plug into one of these equations. I'm going to plug into the first one, and it makes it a little bit easier, looks a little bit easier to solve for y. So y squared. So I end up with 25 minus 7 equals 2y squared. So that's going to be 18. And so divided by 2, so maybe I'll write the steps in here. 18 divided by 2. And so I end up with y squared equals 9, y equals plus minus 3. Okay, so when x is 5, I'm going to have plus minus 3. So I'm going to have 5 and 3 as a solution, 5 and negative 3 as a solution. So then I need to do the same thing for 4.2. And when x is equal to 4.2, I'm going to plug it into the same equation. So 4.2 squared minus 2y squared equals 7. Okay, so I need to square out the 4.2. I end up with 17.64 minus 7 equals 2y squared. So that's going to be 10.64 divided by 2. So I end up with y squared is equal to 5.32. And y works out to be plus minus the square root of that. And that works out to be 2.31. Okay, so those are my other solutions. X is equal to 4.2. Y is equal to 2.31. 4.2 and negative 2.31. So those are my 4 solutions. So it looks like I have 4 solutions for this. When I graph this, to take a look at this, okay, you can graph this on Desmos. When I graph this on Desmos, I end up with an equation that looks like this. For the first equation, so this equation here, this gives me a shape that looks like this. Okay, so it's going to give me it's called a hyperbola, a shape like this. The other equation is an ellipse. This happens to give me an ellipse. And the ellipse looks kind of like this. So it looks like it's kind of centered a little bit more to the right. Okay, and I have my 4 solutions. This solution here is going to be 3 and 5. Or sorry, is that 3 and 5? Yeah, sorry, 5 and 3. 5 and 3. This solution here is 5 and negative 3. Here we have negative 4.2 and 2.31. This solution here is negative 4.2, negative 2.31. So those are all 4 solutions showing up on my graph.